So, hey everybody, welcome to Gaming and Collecting. Unfortunately, no Alex this week. She's going through a bit of a rough spot right now, but
Krobus mix Alex.
that's her boy.
Krobus sad.
Uh, but in the meantime, we have a returning guest to the show. We have Josh from Stillwood. How you doing, Josh?
Just gonna ignore Krobus over here. This man just weeping in the corner.
That is my favorite.
So sad.
That is to this day one of my favorite quotes from this entire show. Is where we bring up Krobus and you're like, oh, I hate that guy down there, and she's just like, don't diss my boy Krobus. That episode is still one of my favorite things I've ever recorded.
Oh, Kroby. Oh, Kroby. Then I'm yes, it is me, Josh from the Still Loaded Podcast. Thanks for having me on again, Bill. Sorry, I derailed it immediately. I'm filling in Alex's chaotic energy today.
No worries at all. It's been a bit since you were last on. I think the last episode was. So I was joking. I have a list of my first 200 episodes on the wall here.
It might have been the Stardew one. No, I
no,
did.
no, it was
a recap of Retro World Expo.
Yep, the Retro World episode. That was
almost 2 years ago.
Yeah, damn. Episode 138, and this is 224.
Well, if I get a panel at Retro World, you'll be seeing my face again in person. And we'll have to, if that happens, we'll have to see if we can do another recording in person, because like when else are we going to get to do that, right?
Yeah. And I have a basement now, so it's like a perfect place to do it.
Yep, not in a hotel room.
Yeah.
Hey, Bill, we've met for the first time. Come into my hotel room, young sir.
I think the crazy revolving door was my favorite part of that. Being an automated revolving door was a choice for that hotel.
Yeah. But anyway, I'm happy to be back. Happy to be back on Gaming Collecting. It's been a while.
It has. No, it's been good. It's good to have you on. Because we've done honestly a few. I think I've been on your show more in the last year than I think it's at least been like 3 times now that I think about it.
There's an episode coming out, because I believe this will be coming out before that episode. You'll be on an episode on the original Infamous game that is coming out in a couple of weeks. You were on not Superstar Saga, sorry, Partners in Time, Mario and Luigi Partners in Time, earlier this year for Mario Month. Were you on before that? I don't think you were on
the DS episode.
That was in November, but yes, that is still kind of within a calendar year, essentially, of that. Yeah, you were on the DS episode back in November. So yeah, that is kind of crazy now that I think about it. I'll have to see if there's any others from that. Oh, you were on the 10th anniversary episode that's as true. Well, like for a little 10-minute shtick, 10-minute segment. And I think that might have been it from 2024, I think. But still, that's like 4 appearances in less than a calendar year. That's pretty good.
That's crazy, because I don't even realize it at the time. Because I mean, I've been trying to get you back on GNC. We've just kind of been through a spell of like episodes where we haven't really been doing guests, for the most part. But I've been wanting to do another collecting stories, so I figured now was the time, because I was sitting. I think this week I just kind of like it kind of hit me. I'm like, I haven't done one of those in forever. I should ask Josh, see if he's down.
I'm always down to. I'm not as much of a collector as I used to be, in the sense that I don't actively go out hunting very much at all, but mainly just due to budget stuff, and also a little bit of space, but more budget than anything. And because of that, I haven't had any fun stories recently, but I do have some collecting stories of finds and stuff like that and whatnot.
Because it's actually kind of funny, because I have also slowed down significantly in the last couple of years. Ironically, both of us are in the same boat. We both bought houses, so it kind of puts a hold on collecting like that, even though I'm still a crazy kleptomaniac when it comes to this stuff.
For me, it was mainly just having a kid who was like, I just can't. I genuinely should not spend money on some of this stuff. But I like this year alone, I've actually like, it's always weird. Like I say, I'm going to cut down on collecting, and I do. Like, I'm not going out like searching for stuff nearly as much as I used to, but like I got a PS5 last year,
Mhm.
and I got a handful of games for Christmas for it. But like this year, I've already gotten like one, two, three, maybe four games for the PS5 this year, which considering that that's they're kind of pricey. Like that's
Yeah.
yeah, like that's I mean that's not like a I'm going out every weekend and hunting and whatnot, but I still buy games and I still buy some retro games. I'll save it for when we get to some of the stories, but I have two mystery NES cartridges that I can
Oh,
talk
nice.
about that I recently picked up. So yeah,
Nice. It's interesting because like speaking of like game prices and stuff, like obviously like we just had the Switch 2 announcement and all the amazing thing about that press conference was it went from people being really happy to really mad really fast,
very fast. Yeah,
which I was like, geez. But yeah, when I saw pricing for games, we're looking at $70 to $80. I've been like kind of contemplating. I'm like, if I'm gonna be paying almost $100 per game, I might as well collect retro games because I just have more fun doing that anyways these days.
exactly. And I don't have necessarily an issue with the upping of the price. Like if you think about it, like games up until basically the last like 2 years stayed at $60 for like 15 to 20 years, right? Like
Mm,
new games were consistent at $60. That's insane. I can't think of anything that has stayed consistent at pricing for like over a decade, like that level of consistency. Like gas prices for the most part have actually like if you go back to like the mid 2000s, people were complaining about gas prices, justifiably so. They were like $3 a gallon, but now they're still kind of like $3 a gallon, depending on where you live. Obviously, like
yeah.
some states are five, some states are less. But anyway, I don't have as much of an issue with the price changes. I have more of an issue with what they were charging for Mario Kart World, where I'm like, it's $90, 90. You better fucking give me like a shitload of content for that. Like you better give me Mario Kart 8 and more, right? Like you cannot sell me something for $90 and just it and the game doesn't look half-assed. Like it looks like a really like robust game that they really went all out on, but it almost seems to me like they're going back to like premium pricing, kind of like how like on the Super Nintendo, we like kind of look behind me, the two posters. You have Secret of Mana and Chrono Trigger. Those games were priced higher because they required larger cartridges or like cartridges that
Mhm.
had more space on it. So it was premium content that you would pay for. Um, so I'm wondering if they're kind of going back to that in a weird way, but I don't know if that's smart or if that's good. I'm not a fan of it, but also it doesn't help. Not I We won't get political, but like the tariffs, like that,
Mm.
like with the fluctuation of like will they, won't they type of thing, that's also caused a lot of issues. So
Yeah. Like for me, the biggest thing is like when I see like 90, it's like we're that close to 100. And like, there's just
I
something
mean,
about that triple digit number that kind of
yeah.
like, it puts me off to like buying new games.
I think 70 is a fair price. Like genuinely, I do think 70 is even like 80 for like a premium game, right? I think that's even fair. Like if Mario Kart World was 80, I think I'd be more forgiving of it. Maybe I'm only saying that because like I know the price is 90, so like, oh, 80 is not bad, but because I'm comparing it to 90. But if I'm comparing it to 70, would I still have that same opinion? I don't know. But 70 I think is fair because like one of the bane of a lot of gamers existence for like gamers like us who are into like either single player experiences or like the really kind of like the core gaming audience, as it were. I don't want to call it like hardcore gamers because like that has a negative connotation at times, or can be gatekeepy at that.
Yeah.
But games like I was showing you off, Mike, I just got the Indiana Jones game, or like Astrobot, or Ratchet and Clank, stuff that like game, the capital G gamer, and I don't mean that as like an elitist type of thing, but like people who are really into the medium would
Mhm.
play. Um, like the bane of our existence was microtransactions, and one of the reasons we had so many microtransactions in DLC and all this other stuff was because they companies were hemorrhaging money trying to make bigger and bigger and bigger games, and
Mhm.
keeping the price at $60. Because the price stayed at 60, it basically did what you saw with Marvel movies, where they had to be these giant experiences in order to not only break even, but they had to make it so, like, if this is your one game this year, you're going to get all the content with it, and we need to make sure we sell a fuck ton.
Yep.
Uh, by upping the price, I'm hoping that you're going to get more mid-level, like double A style games. Like I even think like Square Enix did a really good job during the Switch era with, like, having smaller budget games. Octopath Traveler, Triangle
Mhm.
Strategy, Harvestella, which I believe they published, they didn't develop,
Yeah.
but stuff like that, like mid-tier things that like that sold well, got a decent following, have some semblance of like notoriety just for being Square Enix adjacent, and they didn't break the bank doing it. That's what I would love to see more game studios do. Like, and for all intents and purposes, maybe that new game that a lot of people are talking about, Claire Obscurum, it's an indie game apparently. Maybe that's going to be something like that.
Hmm. Yeah, it's going to be like kind of like I'm going to be watching it. I think this is going to be probably the first console that I don't buy day one.
I definitely not buying it day one, but that's not
Yeah.
because of like it's a like, I don't think the price is like completely outlandish considering the Switch was 300 at launch. This is a more powerful system by a significant amount, and you're dealing with tariffs and inflation. Like,
Mm,
I think one factor that not enough people are talking about right now is how much inflation has fucked over the consumer right now. Like,
yeah.
inflation is really, and listen, I'm not here to like point figures. I don't know thing one how the economy works, or why our dollar continues to get inflated. Stop pumping air into it, you goddamn assholes. But no,
Yeah.
so it just, I think that this is a real like landmark it's kind of like a watershed moment, right? Where it's like, this is really showing like, okay, we're here now. This is where the
Mm,
medium's at in terms of pricing because of all these extenuating these extra factors. So either we have to like find a way for us to make more money, or the companies have to find a way to bring costs down so that way they can lower the prices again.
yeah. It's going to be very touch and go going forward, but that's still it's still a little ways out, so we'll have to wait and see on it. But in the meantime, I'm enjoying my retro gaming.
Hmm.
Um, and to kind of like transition over to like the collecting talk, I do want to bring this up because it's really funny, but as kind of like an opening, like little thing, I want to showcase my newest pickup because I saw it at the retro store and I thought it was hilarious and stupid, which is basically how I collect nowadays because I've run out of.
There's no better way to collect because they're generally only $5 to $10 anyway.
Well, this wasn't, but there's a reason why it wasn't. So I walk into my local retro store and I see this garish pink box up on the
Ooh,
counter.
nice $10 word there, garish.
Yeah. And I just look at it and I'm like, I know exactly what system that's for. And it's
3DO.
and I'm like, it's probably crap, but I have to buy it because that's my thing now. I bought this.
Hey, it's yes, a bird's life. Hey, a
It's
bird's life.
Shelley Duvall's
It's a
It's
bird's
Earth.
life.
It is an educational learning game for the 3DO. It was $55.
Have you tried it yet?
I have not. I'm waiting for the eventual episode because I bought this specifically for the 3DO experience and because I'm gonna get Thrack to play this.
Dude, if you do you have a Patreon for all this stuff?
I do not currently.
Oh, the only reason I was going to ask, like, if you start like putting some money in on this, you could use it as a write off. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Um, it was just one of those funny things though, where I walked into the store and I'm like, "Can I look at that?" Like, it just pointed to it, and the guy just kind of gives me this look, like he's like, "Sure." He hands it to me, and he's like, "I'm like, okay, I'll take it." He just looks at me. He's like, "Are you sure, sir?" I'm just like, You wouldn't understand. It's a 3DO thing."
It's a 3DO thing. That should be a T-shirt for the podcast. It's a 3DO thing. And then on it is just like the most grotesque, like still frame image from one of the Zelda games, right? Just like the king like turning into a pair of lips or whatever the fuck.
Or did I say CDI? I meant 3DO.
No, you said 3DO.
Oh, okay.
Oh no, but I was thinking CDI. I'm sorry. No, you said 3DO. I forgot those are on the CDI, not the 3DO.
I was gonna say because if I'd say something like either like a close up of like Gex's face or a still from Plumbers Don't Wear Ties.
It's a 3D. Dude, imagine if it was like because I've never even seen Plumbers Don't Wear Ties. I've never like watched a single like clip of it. But if there's like a shot of like because I know the front cover is like a dude, like a muscly dude with no shirt on with a tie on, right? If you could get like a dude like posing like sexily, like no shirt on, maybe like tight jeans, and you just say it's a 3DO thing over top of it, I would buy one. I'm just saying.
Something to think about if I ever do merch in the future.
Something to think about.
But I wanted to share that just because seeing this at a game store and seeing this wonderful white logo here made me go. The second you walk in a store, I just go, "Well, I know what I'm buying."
Well, I could actually tangent or like transition this into a small collecting story if you don't mind, because edutainment
Go
brought
for
it
it.
in, and I actually have the game with in front of me. A lot of my game collection is actually up in the attic right now because I don't have space in the current. It's a whole thing. But in any case, I went to a thrift store years ago, and this thrift store periodically I find just the most random stuff there. I found a complete in the box copy of Myst, like big box PC for Myst. I also found a copy of Crash Team Racing that was mixed in with the music CDs. So, like, pro tip, all you game hunters out there, check the music CDs because at thrift stores, because a lot of them they don't realize that it's not a music CD. Anyway, so what I found was putt
Ah,
putt
cool.
Pep's birthday surprise. I actually had a collector reach out to me on Instagram saying like, "Hey, I'm a huge Humongous Games fan, right? You know, the developer of these games. And I'm trying I have a bunch of these, but I don't have this one in the big box and everything. I don't know if it's complete or not, but like it was a Humongous Games thing and like it's the big box. Like
Mm.
I don't know when I'm going to find something like this again. Let me actually see what do I have in here. I'll see what the options are. They I do have the disc. I do have the
Nice.
disc, and it has like a little advertisement for other Atari stuff for backyard baseball. Wow, it's for PlayStation 2. So this must have been either a reprint of it or it was a late game. I don't know when this game was released.
That's this is my humongous knowledge. That's actually the final putt putt game.
Okay. Wow, I found a good. Like this is in good condition.
Hmm.
And then obviously the little installation thing.
Nice. That
So
the early childhood rating is like one of those things that you see it and you just like that was the thing at one point.
there we go, dude. I think I love edutainment stuff. Whether it's television or games. Like I actually have a bunch of physical copies of like living books discs and
Mhm.
stuff like that, or like Disney interactive storybooks or whatnot, that I just find at thrift stores. Right, I found them all at thrift stores. They don't really work on modern computers because the operating systems, but you can um, buy new versions of it. In fact, like on Steam, you can get like Arthur's birthday and stuff like that.
Oh,
What
actually,
is it?
fun fact. From my original childhood PC, I still have my binder of discs.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
and I believe actually the first game in here is Arthur's Teacher Trouble.
Wow, that's the first living books thing too.
Hmm. I just always laugh because I see that there and I'm like, I look through here and it's a whole bunch of like random edutainment and a copy of Mist because Mist came with everything
Hmm.
back in the day. But oh, and the free trial of Beacon teaches typing.
Mavis Beacon, or as my wife calls it, Mavis Bacon.
Never helped me get better at typing. That's for sure.
The person who the company that like ported this over to like you can get actually a lot of it. So the Jordan Freeman group is a group of like they have a platform called Zoom platform. It's not Zoom as in like you know the web like the meeting thing that you know what I'm talking about. It's
Yeah.
not the Zoom in as in the conference call. That's the word I couldn't fucking think of. God damn it. And like the conference call type of thing, but it's a online web store. You can create an account and there's no app or anything, but it keeps track of your purchases just like Steam does, and you can download and whatnot. Um, they they have a whole bunch of different games that they ended up publishing to Steam. You can get like the Living Books versions of Berenstein Bears, Arthur games, Stella Luna. I
Hmm.
remember that was a big one. And they've ported a bunch of other games to PC. Like really, like if you want weird ass PC games, check out the Zoom platform. Like there's a lot of like weird obscure stuff from like the 90s that you're like what the fuck is this that I've never even heard of, but like they're all over the place.
Nice.
So yeah, check out zoomplatform.com. There's some cool stuff on there.
So I guess to start off, I have a for anyone who hasn't seen one of these in the previous episodes, I have a set of questions that I'll go through. They'll probably kind of a change from here or there because I think some of them are actually kind of redundant now that I relook at them. But um, the first question I always like to ask is just like, how did you get into collecting? Like what year and like what was kind of like the
Mm.
catalyst of it?
Year I don't really remember, but I can tell you a little bit of the catalyst of it. Um, one, what there's two parts to this. One was I used to work at a library. I was my title was page, which is kind of a silly title, but essentially my job was I would check in books. I wouldn't really interact with like patrons, but I would like if they dropped off books in the slot or like the bins or whatever, I would check them in, organize them, and then take them out on carts and like shelve them to where the proper things, right? Um, and that was my job I worked there for like 4 years and really loved that place. I have a lot of good memories of that place, a lot of good people. And even though I didn't read all that much, still don't read as much as I probably should, it did give me a love for like what the library stands for and like the community aspect around it. So I love that place. They had a used book sale usually twice a month. And I remember like periodically we would have to bring the donations for the used book sale back to the used book sale room. And that I mean the used book sale room is just a mess. Like it's not organized in the slightest. No one gives a fuck about it. I found there two old school games. I think I got a copy of Tecmo Bowl on the NES and I got a boxed copy of the original Sonic the Hedgehog. No
Oh,
manual,
nice.
but it was the box and the cart. And it was a not for resale. It even had a not for
Yep.
resale thing on it. And I think I spent $1 on both of them total, like $1 between both of them. So it was like 50 cents each. And I remember getting, I'm like, well, I like games. I like Sonic. Sure. I didn't even have a Genesis at the time. I just bought it because it was $1. I was like, fuck it. So that was like one of my first like collecting purchase. But before I really realized I was into collecting games. The second thing, which I think a lot of people could even relate to, is AVGN. I was really big into AVGN in the aughts and the early 2010s, right? In fact, I remember the year, like January 1st, 2010, he released a video on Street Fighter 2010. And I remember that video vividly because that was like the height of my AVGN fandom. But AVGN for everything that like I'm not too big on his stuff now. It's not even anything personal. Like, I don't have anything against the guy. It's just I've changed. Like my sense of
Mhm.
humor has changed. I'm not going to say it's matured or gotten like more erudite or better. It's just the same things that made me laugh back then just don't make me laugh now. But what I loved about AVGN, especially early AVGN, was that it was mostly it was all mostly comedy obviously, but also it was a little informative. Like I think there was a
Mhm.
bizarre amount of game like learning about game history from his old stuff that like Now it doesn't feel like that anymore because there's so many people in the space of like talking about game history, whether it's the gaming historian, whether it's what the Video Game History Foundation does, whether it's um, hell, even Brutal Moose, even though he doesn't really do like game stuff as much anymore, but he did a lot of PC stuff.
Mm.
Um,
Scott
the
the
com-
Woz is a big one.
Scott the
Yeah.
Woz is a really good one. I love Scott the Woz. Before he was disgraced, the completionist.
Yeah.
Before all that stuff happened,
Nitro Rad is another big one that I watch nowadays.
I never even heard of Nitro Rad. But even if I go down my subscriptions on YouTube, right? You have My Life in Gaming, Rewind Arcade, Gaming Historian, like I already mentioned, Game Grumps, even to an extent, even though it's mostly comedy. Aaron does know his shit, and he's a very smart individual. So, Stop Skeletons from Fighting, that's another
Classic.
one.
I love Derek. Lazy Game Reviews is another fun
Lazy
one.
Game Reviews, yep. Adam Korlick, MinMax. This is all modern stuff. I'm not talking about people who have been here for a while. I'm just saying in general. I mean, heck, Retroware, Pat the NES Punk. How could I forget? I like Pat's stuff. You ever see the Video Game Years?
Oh yeah. Oh
I
yeah.
love the Video Game Years. I still think they're fantastic. I still think there's a. I would love to see them come back, but Pat has said numerous times he doesn't think there's like really a interest for it because the what it's parodying, the I love the 80s, I love the 70s, I love the 60s shows, no one knows about those anymore.
Hmm.
But I think those that series is such a really good concise way to show an evolution of like game culture. I mean, yeah, it's through the American perspective, but I like that whatever that is what it is.
For me, like the big OG that really got me into it was Classic Game Room.
Yeah, Chris from Retro Hangover talks about them a lot too. I never watched Classic Game Room. I never even heard of them. But the thing is, like AVGN, the point I think I'm trying to make is that AVGN back in like the late aughts and early 2010s, he wasn't the only game in town. He wasn't like the only like retro gaming YouTuber in town, but he was the retro gaming YouTuber in town.
He was the one that kickstarted the whole angry reviewer fad, but he was
Yes.
also like the only one that I think really did it well because you could tell it was
Yeah.
he was playing a character.
Same with Nostalgia Critic. He did it well too. Though I know Nostalgia Critic has had issues since then with like a company and like just not treating employees well. But that's I don't know, and I don't know how much of that has been changed since then. But
I don't think it was ever Doug. I think it was more the people Doug had around him.
that's what it seemed like too. But like I don't know. So, but in any case, so yeah, that's how, like, to bring it back to your question, that's how I kind of got into it. Was the AVGN kind of showed me how much I actually like video games. Like that was the spark. Like I think my love of games has always been there. Like from the get go, I remember like getting an N64 for like when I was 10 years old for Christmas. And that was my first game console. And I ignored my neighbors for the next 6 years because I was just like, this is like the video games. Like I just loved them so much. And I don't think I realized how much I loved them until when I was in college. Like, because in like when I was in high school, didn't play them as much as I used to. And I don't think it was like to be cool or anything. I didn't stop them. Some people get out of quote unquote geeky things because they want to. The joke is always like, well, I wanted to get laid, so I stopped reading comics. I'm like, no, it wasn't anything like that. One, I wasn't getting laid anyway, but two, I just it didn't that I just kind of I ended up socializing more. I became more. I suddenly broke out of my shell and I became a social butterfly during my senior year of high school and into college, and that's kind of like where that all came to be. But then AVGN came around, and it kind of reignited my like when I started learning about the history of games through him, whether it's like the weird NES, like I remember the NES controller accessory video, the NES accessory video, and you learn about like the rock and roller. I'm like, oh shit, there was motion controls. Like I'm not saying
Some
they
of
were good, but like they were motion controls, like attempts at motion controls, or like learning about like the Sega channel and being like, what there was you could go online on the Sega Genesis, and that's not even the first console to actually do that. The Atari had like an online service. I think it might have been called called. I don't think it was On Live. It was something else. But you could connect your Atari to like your phone line and download games to it. Like this is like in the 80s and shit. Like it's wild. Like that shit existed. And so AVGN sparked that. And then from there, I wanted to experience these games. And I didn't have a Wii at the time. Um, and I didn't understand. Like I tried emulators and I hated emulators. Like I don't have any issue. Like this is not an anti-emulation thing. I'm all for it. Because fuck the corporations and all that shit. But like
Yeah.
also they're the only ones actually preserving games because
Uh-huh.
corporations sure as shit ain't doing it. Um, in any case, that is a whole nother discussion. I'll spare you that's a whole nother discussion we could have. But it was honestly the input delay. It was hard for me to play the games that I wanted to play because if you hit jump on a keyboard, it just doesn't feel the same as holding a controller in your hand. And I didn't have a way to hook up a controller to my PC at the time. I didn't understand all that. I had to buy like I remember at one point in time you could do it with a 360 controller, but you had to buy a special cord to do it. And yeah, and even then, if you bought the special cord, like you had to map it and hope that the emulator
Yep.
supported it. Now it's all built in. Now it's like I can plug in my PS4 controller, and almost every emulator that's out now, you can just map it to whatever you want, map the buttons to what you need to be. But
I
back then, I
actually
couldn't do it.
I actually bought one of these specifically for it, just an old wired Xbox 360 controller because
See,
these are hard to find now.
yeah, oh yeah, you had to buy a wired one. See, I had a USB thing to it was for a battery charger though. Like you could connect it to you could charge the battery through it, and that didn't work. It had to be wired, and I didn't have a wired 360 controller, so I didn't really have any way to play it on like on emulation. So I was like, well, I like how these cartridges look. Like it's aesthetically pleasing to me.
Mm.
Why don't I start collecting? And that's when it just kind of spiraled out of control from there. I just started collecting and I never really looked back. And now I have well over 1,000 games in my collection, which that's nothing compared to you and to a lot of other people. I think I'm probably closer to 1,500 now if I actually had to count them all. But I haven't done a running tally in so long, so I don't really know. I think when I eventually fully set up my office, because you mentioned before we both moved somewhat recently. Only reason this office isn't set up is my wife and I eventually want to have another kid, and I don't want to set this whole thing up and then have
Yep.
to tear it down to make room for Junior or the kid or whatever.
Mhm.
So I and then when I do that, I have to renovate the attic and like put drywall in and insulation and find an AC unit and all this other shit. So I don't want to deal with any of that shit. So
Yeah.
I'm right now. A lot of the stuff is upstairs because of that. So
Yeah. Um, yeah, for me, it was kind of like I had said, like classic game room was like the big catalyst for me. The absolute like thing that really did it was 2009.
mm,
I've said it in the past, but I discovered the Sega Dreamcast, which is interesting because I was technically alive when it came out, but I was too young to really remember it.
hmm
So when I rediscovered when I rediscovered that Sega made consoles, because I lived in that like bubble that I didn't realize Sega made consoles for a long time. Um, I found the Dreamcast, and something about the Dreamcast has always been like it's like that little console that, despite being a colossal failure, I don't think anybody says anything bad about it. Like it is like it's probably the most beloved failed console there is.
yeah, and even then, it's not like it's crazy that it sold well during when it first came out. Like the first like week or month or whatever, it was like gangbusters. Like Sega was like, we're back, baby, we got it." Then the PS2 happened, and then it just kind of went from there. But that's a
But
different
then
story.
not even the PS2, the hype for the PS2
The hype for
happened.
the PS2 killed it. Yeah, it just came out at the wrong time. That's all it really was. If it would have come out like a year prior, it probably would have been fine. But
Year prior, Sega was so in the toilet by then too. It was going to be take a miracle to save them.
yeah, I mean, you I think was it? I don't know if you were on the episode for it. Did you hear about how Sega survived all that? You might know it actually, knowing how much you know about game history in general.
I know a good amount of it. I know Sega was in a really tough spot there for a while.
I'd have to double check exactly, but because it's been a minute since I talked about it on my show. I don't even remember which episode, but Sega was in debt to a lot of different places, and one of the people they were in debt to died, and in his will, he basically like loaned them the money they needed to stay afloat,
Mhm.
and then just forgave it. Like, didn't he's like, no, that's basically just said, like, well, I'll loan you this, and then just you don't have to pay it back. It's fine. Like, so it was essentially a gift. It's that's how Sega is still around today because one super rich Japanese investor was like, I believe in this company. And that's why they're still around from there. And he just forgave a huge ass loan and they're still
It's
around. It's awesome.
it's crazy too because Sega, arguably, out of all, because we're in a point in time now where game companies are like all over the place. Like there's a lot that are really struggling, like Ubisoft, and enough said there. Um, but then like you look at Sega, Sega is like one of the healthiest game companies I think there is right now. Like they're killing it with their game releases. Like Yakuza is like killing it. Sonic's actually good again.
Mhm.
They
I think
they
they
own
do a smart
Atlas.
thing. I think they do a smart thing where they diversified their portfolio and they also don't release like they take risks. Like look at like listen, I'm not necessarily a giant Yakuza fan. I know it's a really popular series. They did a fucking pirate Yakuza game, right? Like that's the newest one that just came out, right? Somewhat recently.
Mhm.
Like less than a year ago or so. I don't even know exactly when, but like that's a risk. You that's a swing. And they knew they could take the swing because of the tone and the silliness that's already in the Yakuza series. So they're like, fuck it, why not? And they try weird things and they're not afraid to try things. And I think that's
Mm.
I'm not saying they're perfect, of course, but like you compare that to Sony and Microsoft and whatnot, like you're not really like, you know, it, you don't see that as much.
Mm. Now Sony and Microsoft are kind of going through an identity crisis right now.
Yeah. I mean, hell, I would even argue Nintendo is right now too, only because for the longest time they're like, we're not going to compete with the other two. We're going to be Nintendo. And now with the Switch 2, it feels like no, we're going to compete with the other two now. And it's like, no, like you've won because you've carved out a niche that is so different from the other AAA. Like,
Mm.
like there's AAA studios and then there's Nintendo who is AAA, but they're Nintendo. Like they're different. They're weird. They
Oh
try
yeah.
weird things. And I'm happy the Switch 2, excuse me, isn't some like radical overhaul or something completely different. But like the old Nintendo would not be charging you for their fucking tech demo game.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like Sony didn't even charge that for you with their PS5, and the PS4 was a huge success for them. So like the PS4 was a huge success. If anything, they would have been a little bit hubristic, or what if that's even a word, had some hubris, and then decided to charge. But no, they gave you Astro's Playroom for free.
Also, Astro's Playroom is a game. The Switch thing is a is a glorified manual.
Yeah, that's at least that's what it seems like,
Yeah.
based off what we've seen. It doesn't look like it. Like, why would you make someone pay for a fucking manual? Like, Astro's Playroom is a full game. It's a manual disguised as a game. This is a game disguised as a manual.
Manual. Yeah. And Nintendo confused. Nintendo is such a weird company. They're like they constantly are like stuck in 1995, but every now and
Hmm.
then they'll have like this moment of brilliance. Like I think it's really charming when like they can be so confident about announcing a basically they announce that they created Discord. Um being so confident about it and everyone being like, yeah, we've had that for years, Nintendo.
It's at least on the console now, which is nice. But it's weird because then they'll do like things where they didn't have to do. Like they released that Paul Rudd commercial where they did it like almost shot for shot with the exact same costume and everything. Like it's shit like that. I'm like, you know your audience surprisingly well, but you still do the other shit that like doesn't make.
They
They're such a weird
they know their
company.
audience, but they also simultaneously hate their audience at the same time with some of their
Yeah,
decisions they make.
and you know what? I can't blame them because I've seen Nintendo fans online and they're fucking crazy.
Well, yeah.
They're
It's
crazy.
yep. Um yeah. But anyways, moving on. So question number 2 is this one is what's one of like the craziest like collecting like memory slash story you have? Like, say for me, like my example would usually be like when the Vita went out of was discontinued. I went on a day long road trip across Massachusetts to every
I
GameStop
remember
I
you
could
telling me. I
find
remember the story. Yeah.
to clear out their Vita sections, like something like that. There's kind of, it's like absurd, but like it's kind of memorable at the same time.
Okay, so you're looking for absurd, not necessarily like the best find I've had, but just like the most ridiculous, like in terms of just like the story behind it. So I'm trying to think. I went game hunting one time, like yard sale game hunting. Like I'm not talking just going to retro stores. I mean, like I was driving around. I was yard selling, and I went with my buddy. His name is also Josh. He's from a YouTube channel called Firespin Gaming. And he did a lot of like he would have like he bought a pair of glasses that had like a camera hidden in it so he could take like video and whatnot, and it would just be him filming him like filming him finding stuff at yard sales, right? Um, and we went hunting one time together. He took me hunting. He showed me kind of how he did it. Like we got up like I drove really fucking far away. I woke up at like 5 a.m. Drove like an hour away because that's where he lived. And we went game hunting. And it was funny because we had met like one other time prior at like a swap meet.
Mhm.
Um, and he had a booth there, and it was funny because I recognized him from Instagram. Like, oh shit, you follow me on Instagram. He goes, what? Or no, he's like, I listened to your podcast. I'm like, what? That's great. It was one of the first times someone like in the wild said I listened to your podcast. It was cool. So he took me game hunting, and I didn't find anything like crazy during the game hunt. Like I found some good stuff. I got some Wiimotes. I got like some PS1. I think I got some of the Twisted Metal PS1 games, but it was like loose discs in like one of the sleeves type of thing. But I will never forget like we stopped up at the yard. So I can still remember the layout of the yard and the road it was on, where went to a yard sale, and one of the tips and tricks for any game hunters out there, just if you don't see any games, just ask if they have any, because sometimes people will forget, like, oh yeah, I meant to bring those out here or whatnot, or like, oh, maybe I'd be willing to sell them type of thing. And there's a woman who said, she's like, I do have some games, but they're up in the attic and I don't feel like getting them. And it's like, oh, okay. So he we leave, and we're like 10 feet away from the yard. He looks at me, he's like, I'm going to go around the block, come back, and offer her money to go up and look. I'll offer her $40 just to check for the games. I'm like, don't do that, Josh. He's like, no, I'm going to do it. He fucking drove around, went over. He's like, I'll give you $40 if you just go up and check to see what you have. And she said no. She still said no. And he's like, I think he even upped it a little bit. He might have started at 20 and went up to 40 or something like that. And she's like, no, I really don't want to. Like she really did not want to. They must have been at a really like bad spot or something. And we did not get anything out of that. But I remember just like, because I was in the passenger seat and he was in the driver's seat, and they were on my side. So I'm just the whole time I'm just
Yeah, it's
slowly
just kind of I'm not here.
sinking down. Like, I'm not here. I don't know him. He was laughing the whole time afterwards. He's like, dude, you just kept sinking into the seat further and further. I'm like, I was uncomfortable. What do you want from me? So that is like one of the most memorable moments of game hunting and trying to collect and whatnot that I've ever been a part of. It was just that uncomfortableness of him, of my other friend Josh, offering some random person $40 just to search their attic for the
Yeah,
games that they might have.
yeah. Like it's always funny, like collecting. Like sometimes that like the inner crazy collector will just come out, and you'll just do shit that like you wouldn't never do any other moment. But then like sometimes it just like hits you. Like I've shared in the past, but for me, like I like chased down a guy for a copy of Suikoden 2. Um,
Like
at
chase down in what way? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like
so
you beat the shit out of him, or do
no,
you
no, no,
mean
not like that. Like not so much chase down. It was more a casual. I was walking past a booth at a flea market, and I overheard the people behind the counter. Like I overheard one of them mention like, "Oh, I got a copy of Suikoden 2 in," and I was like already kind of stepping away. I legit did like an about face, like ran to the booth, like both hands on the glass, and I just like looked him in the face and said, "How much?" And they were like, they like were kind of freaked out to the point where they didn't know what to say. So one of them just kind of goes, $60, and I'm like, sold.
Dude, that's a great deal
Yeah,
for
no, it
sneaking
was.
into.
I robbed him blind, like not even crazily enough. I got the game, and I was like into the night.
I bet you he probably looks it up now and be like, I sold Suikoden 2 for $60.
Oh no, the best part was I went back the next year and then bought Mega Man Legends 2 from him as
Did he
well.
recognize you at all?
No,
No,
so
yeah.
it was kind of funny. I was like thinking like if he did, I'd probably just be like, yeah, sale's a sale.
I do have one other kind of mild story, and I can use actually the NES cartridges that I hinted at before as an example of it. It's not the best example, but it's not as crazy as my friend Josh trying to bribe a lady for go check for games. But one of the things I actually used to do, and you can actually go back to some of my oldest episodes of the podcast. I'm not saying they're good. I don't think they're good episodes, but it was something I did where I would go to a local game store and I would give myself a budget of like $10. And now I would probably do the same, but with 20 because prices have increased. But this was like a decade ago. Oh my God. I mean, I've been doing the fucking podcast for like a decade. Um, and I would go to the store and look for the weirdest cover that I could possibly find, title or cover, and buy. And if it was, as long as the game was like under $10, I would try to see how much I could get for under $10. I remember buying a handful of games. There was one for the Super Nintendo, Power Pigs of the Dark Ages. I was like, "What the fuck is this?" It's a weird cartoon style. Like the game's not awful. It's better than you expect. I also got a game where it's a Pink Panther game, but I didn't know that because all I saw was "Pink Goes to Hollywood" was the title of the. It was on the side label, the end label. I also got Awesome Possum there before I learned about Awesome Possum and how he was going to be a mascot for Tengen
Yeah,
and whatnot. That listeners, if you want to look up a wild fucking story, look up the story of Awesome Possum. It's weird.
I think
Um,
Gaming Historian did a good video on that.
I believe so. Yeah, I believe so. I'm trying to think of another one. I also did Tin Star and Tough Enough, like two different games, Tin Star and Tough Enough, which Tough Enough is like a Street Fighter 2 clone, but like the title is TUFF apostrophe NUFF, Tough Enough. I'm like, what is this? It looks like a dude going Super Saiyan on the cover, and it's like with short hair. It's wild. And so I would do like these like $10 like random game things, and I would do I actually did a couple episodes on them. I would like buy them that was kind of the gimmick. Like I would go to the store, bring it home, play it, and then record a podcast about it. And I still think it's a fun idea, and I think I could do it better now, but it honestly would probably be for like Patreon content. Like now that my episodes are like an hour and a half to 2 hours long, I don't think I could fill an hour and a half to 2 hours on Tin Star or Tough Enough. But I bring that up to say I did the same thing. I had a weekend to myself for the first time in like over a year. My wife and daughter went to the beach. I had the whole house to myself. So you know what I did? Went to I moved. I looked up some new local retro game stores. Went there and I bought Amagon.
Oh, that is a cover right there.
Yeah, I know it's hard to see on camera because my camera's not great, but it is like there's a dude who's got a M16 on the cover shooting it, and then there's a buff version of him of
Yeah.
that same dude in the and that the game is like Try from My Life in Gaming told me about it, and that's why I bought it. And I looked at the cover, and the cover did not disappoint. This cover is wild. Um, it's so silly looking. The other game I got mainly for the title, but I actually really like unironically, like this isn't me making fun of the cover art. I think the cover art's really cool. The Moffat Conspiracy,
Oh, nice.
which I didn't know until after I bought it, is the sequel to Golgo 13.
Oh, okay.
Then yeah, it's the sequel to Golgo 13 on the NES. Golgo 13, excuse me. That's so hard for me to say. Have not played any of them yet, but I literally just saw the little end cap where it says the Moffat Conspiracy. I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? What's a Moffat?
Mhm.
I don't know. And how can it conspire against anything? What's a Moffat conspiracy? So I bought those two. So in terms of game hunting stories, periodically I will just go into a store with a limit of like 10, $20, and that's that. I'll find whatever I can find for 10, $20. And I've got gems like Power Pigs of the Dark Ages and Tough Enough and Tin Star and now the Moffat Conspiracy and what else? The Amagon.
Yeah. So that actually makes me laugh because I was thinking about I do this every now and then too. I'll see a game cover that I'll take one look at it and be like, "What the hell is that?" And I'll be like,
Mhm.
"I need to own it." It reminded me of this one game I want to bring up because it has the most absurd cover I've ever seen for a video game, and I still have yet to play it, but like I have to share this cover. The game is called Tunnel B1,
Okay.
and it is this.
That's one of them blowjob faces you hear so much about.
It is. I don't even know what kind of game this is. I saw it at a retro game store for
What are you
five
talking about?
bucks.
It's Tunnel Blowjob 1, B1.
Yeah.
His mouth is just waiting for you, Bill.
For audio listeners, it is literally an extreme close up of a guy's face with his mouth gaping open in an endless tunnel
You
into
didn't
the
have to
mouth.
use the word gaping.
And the best part is it's published by Acclaim. It's just like one of those things where it's like, yes.
Oh my god. That is horrifying.
Yeah.
That is absolutely horrifying.
Yeah, Tunnel B1 though. I found that. I've yet to play it. I really should because I need to like understand what the lore of this thing is.
I also got a game called Circus Caper on the NES just because it's got like a weird like dude in a mask and he's mustachioed swinging on a trapeze. Uh I don't think I don't think I can top that. That face mouth that's terrifying.
Yeah. Like another one that's fun too was so I had found one of my favorite like dumb kind of like styles of games I like to collect is I really like to collect obscure racing games.
Mhm.
And the one that I had come across was this game called ATV Racer
Mm.
for the PS1. And when I picked it up, I at first thought like, oh, it must be like a racing game, you like kind of like ATV Off Road Fury. Well, I pulled it out of the case and I saw the cover art, and I was presented with this, just like I was like, oh, that's not what I was expecting in the slightest.
For the listeners at home who aren't seeing the video version of this, it is basically a anthropomorphic like cat, like almost like a lynx or like a bobcat, or it's not like a cheetah or a lion or anything like that. It's very kind of like bobcatish, riding driving an ATV chased by I don't I can't tell from
It
that.
looks like a raccoon, I
Yeah,
think.
with like fox ears though.
Yeah. Literally, when I pulled it out, my first reaction was, "Oh, it's Furry Racer," and I just kind of, I put it back, and then I pulled it back. I was like, "I'm buying this. I need it." um,
That is like yeah, talk about a 0 to 100 moment. We're like, this is going to be a boring ass racing game. Excuse me.
the so I have actually played that one. It's
How
not
is
good.
it? Oh, it's
It's
not
not.
good. Okay.
It's not good at all. But it was just one of those things where I was like, "This is a thing, and I need it in my collection."
I love weird stuff like that, man. I mean it's why I have, we were talking about edutainment earlier. I have a copy of complete in box with a handful of games, also complete in box of Sega Pico. I have a Sega Pico complete in box, and it's just like no one. I mean, now those things are crazy expensive.
Oh yeah.
I bought that complete in box with like six games complete in box for $80,
Hmm.
which now I don't even like. I've seen like the Sonic the Hedgehog game alone for that thing is like over 100 at least,
Oh
maybe
yeah.
200 now. I don't know what the price because I'm once again I'm kind of out of the loop on collecting in terms of pricing. But I remember like I was like, man, I want to get like the Magic School Bus game for that thing. and I think that's still only 20, but maybe it's probably risen since then. But like the Sonic game is like crazy expensive. Sonic game, okay, loose price for the Sonic the Hedgehog's game world for the Sega Pico is $73 for it loose. If you want it complete, you're at 138. That is actually fairly reasonable because last time I looked, it was $300 and it peaked around 300 in like January of 2023.
Gotcha.
It has since come back down and it's been remaining pretty consistently steady at around this price between 125 and 140.
Hmm, that's fun. Yeah, the Pico is such a weird like piece of history. Like it's really cool for the
Hmm.
time, but I just don't think that would work nowadays.
I don't know, man. I still think it's really cool. Echo the Dolphin's $66. What's the most valuable CIB one? It's Sonic's Game World. The Sonic Game World is more valuable complete in box than a Pico is complete in box.
Yeah.
Let that sink in. Tails the Music Maker is 90 complete in box. Whoa, Richard Scary's Huckle and Lowly's Busiest Day Ever is 87 complete in box. I think that's mainly just because that game came bundled with a lot of them. So if you kind of like, Super Mario World in a box is like kind of rare because they almost always came loose with the system. So if you find like a boxed version of it, it's a lot harder to find. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Do they-
So
Okay. Anyway, sorry. I'm
yeah,
good.
no worries. So for the next question, what would you say is like your biggest like kind of like collecting score? Like you went out not expecting anything and you struck gold. Like for me to this day, like my biggest one I've ever had is I went yard sailing and saw a stack of VHS tapes. And in the VHS tapes, there was a complete emboxed Knuckles Chaotix for the 32X just sitting there. And I remember 'cause I didn't even have a 32X at the time. I was just walking by and I looked over and I'm like, Sega, 32X, Sonic.
Sega.
And I pull it out of the VHS tapes. And I just asked the lady running it, and she was like, she kind of looked at it and just went, ah, $5. And I was like, yes, please. That game's like, God, it has to be like in the hundreds now, I believe. Okay, yeah,
Probably.
Knuckles Chaotix complete in box currently goes for 318. So
Let me see. So I have my Game Eye app open, which is not, I don't have all my games added into it, but it still is like a pretty good, like barometer for like if you want to there we go. Let me change the price. I can see what I have. Um okay, I have a handful here. So I have two stories that come to mind. Holy
okay.
shit, some of these are still worth a fuck ton. Wow. Um So I worked with a woman named Monica at my old job, or not my old job, my current job, but this is like years ago. She's no longer with the company. She like easily like 15 years older than me. Like she was middle aged. I was like in my mid 20s, right? And she knew I liked video games, and she's like, "Well, I have a whole bunch that I want to get rid of." She showed me. She brought them in, and it was a full box of 32 complete in the box NES games
Oh
in
wow.
beautiful condition. And I was looking at them and like there's games I didn't own yet, like Mario 3, like I had copies of Mario 3 and Mario 2, but not boxed. Because I'm a collector on a budget. Like I'm a budget collector. I don't really splurge for the big items unless it's a game I'm like, oh, I need to have this. Um, Mega Man 3,
Oh wow.
um, yeah, Mega Man 3, Mario 3, Mario Bros. 2, the original Mario Bros, like the arcade Mario Bros. Complete in box. What else did we have here? Kid Icarus Complete in box. Um, I'm just kind of scrolling through now. Flying Warriors, the original DuckTales, Punisher, Conquest of the Crystal Palace, um, Maniac Mansion, like all of these complete in box, like really nice, really good quality copies of it. Which actually, I put a lot of them also over in my parents' house in their basement. I hope they're okay still, because their basement has flooded, but they were up off the ground. I just hope there's not too much humidity down there. But it was also the winter, so I'm not too worried about it. Anyway, so this was over a decade ago, so keep that in mind. The prices for these have gone up dramatically since then. I looked at some of these, like I knew some of these were worth like more, like Mario and Mega Man and Donkey Kong Classics was also on there. But I looked up like a few. I estimate, excuse me, I estimated like Mega Man 3 complete in the box at the time was like 60-70 bucks, right? And I'm like, okay, that's got to be the one that's worth the most out of all these. Like Mario 3 is not going to be worth that much, and a lot of these I've never even fucking heard of. So I just guesstimated at like $30 a pop, right? Now this would be like the equivalent of saying most complete in box NES games are probably like 50 to 60. But back then it was like lower prices, right? So I told her, I'm like, listen, like you could easily sell these on eBay for like over $1,000 if you want to. Like I can't buy that off you, but like because if it was 30 times 32, that's over $1,000, right? So like I told him like you can easily sell this for over $1,000 online. I'm not going to lie to this person. Like I work with them. I'm not going to screw them over. Plus, even if I didn't know them, I would feel guilty if I dicked them over. But in any case, I told him like you can sell it for 1,000 easily. If you go to a store, you're going to get half of that, but you don't have the hassle of having to sell it all online. I'll buy it off you for 200 because that's all I can afford. And she's like, I'll do that. I went, okay. I mean, all right. One of the games, and I had no idea it was worth this at the time, was called Special Cybernetic Attack Team, also known as SCAT, complete in box for the NES. At the time, I'll tell you what it's worth now, but at the time, it was worth $200 alone for that. And I went, excuse me? That alone was the price that I paid, but I got 31 other games out of it. Um, that game now, Bill, I have it up on my Game Eye app. $609. I paid essentially $8 for it. 200 divided by 32, right? I have the calculator up right here. Let's do that. 200 divided by 32, $6.25. I paid $6.25 for that, and it is worth $609.
So in my collection currently, I only own one game that's more valuable than that.
I think you've told me what it was too. I forgot what it is though.
Panzer Dragoon Saga.
Yeah.
The that's just kind of like the default answer for most people's collections these days.
The other big score that I bought years ago off of eBay. I'm hoping they're not fakes because it's Pokemon, right? I did open it up and look at the board, and the board looks legit, and like the serial numbers or whatever match, like the not the little SM number and SM whatever it is, that all matched. So I'm pretty sure they're legit. I'm gonna have to take them to a friend, maybe like who knows this shit, to be like, hey, can you verify these are legit? Because like the one copy of Pokemon Red that I have, the plastic looks all fucked up. Like it looks like candy colored, almost like candy red. And I'm like, that doesn't seem like legit. In any case, I bought Pokemon Red, Blue, Gold, Silver, and Yellow for $50. Now, to be clear, if you saw that now, that's 100% a scam. These were all loose, mind you, 100% a scam. But I bought this back in like 2013, 2014, right? Pokemon, I mean, they were already like sought after, but nothing to what you see now. So I bought them for like $50 off of eBay, got like 5 games for 50, great deal. Coworker of mine, same job that I work at currently as well, a different coworker. His name is Min. He also has since moved on to a different company. Min's a really nice guy, super cool dude. He's like he randomly will give me stuff like he finds from his own game things that he just doesn't want anymore. He came in and he's like, "Hey, I have all of these Pokemon boxes and manuals, but no games. Would you be interested in them?" And I go, "Absolutely." I told him though, once again, like, dude, I don't know what the value of these are, but this shit's worth money. Like, I'm telling you, like, Pokemon holds its value. He's like, I don't care. So he gave them to me. The only game I did not own out of the boxes was Pokemon Crystal. So I bought a copy years ago for $50 for a loose copy of Crystal. So now I have a complete in box version of Pokemon Crystal, which is worth $809 currently. But I also
Yep.
have Pokemon Emerald, and because of that, I now own complete in box versions of Pokemon Crystal, Emerald, Leaf Green, Red, Yellow, Blue, Silver, and Gold.
Damn.
And like that, the least valuable of that is Pokemon Gold at 256 currently.
Yeah,
That's
I think like
fucking crazy.
I'm pretty sure the loose cartridge for Emerald is like $200 these days.
I'm gonna have to find my oh shit, where did it go actually? I put all of my Game Boy and Game Boy GBA games into like card sleeves, the plastic sleeves for cards, so I could just put them in a binder and open it up that way.
Mhm.
I don't know where they are right now. I should really find them along with the other boxes and everything. I'm gonna have to really start sifting through stuff because like I have no semblance of where half my collection is right now. Half of it's at my parents' house and half of it is at up in the attic. And all of my nice boxes, like the PS5 empty box and like the PS4 and like maybe like collector's edition boxes that are empty that I'm using for display, they're all over at a different friend's house up in his attic. So like I should really check in on that. But like yeah, so that is probably my those two are my biggest scores where I just lucked into it, where it's something I wasn't expecting, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh my god, like what? Like especially with the first one, the 32 CIB NES games. I had no idea what Scat was. I'd never even heard of that game. But it's $200 and now it's
Yep.
obviously over that. So it's
Yeah, it's
crazy.
crazy. Like that's me with like Persona 2 Eternal Punishment on PlayStation. I bought that for $20 on Amazon like back in 2012 before like the Persona boom happened. And it's like a $400 game now. Like
It's
just
crazy how like you just buy like I bought Super Mario RPG complete in box for like $60 off of eBay years ago. It's now 250. Like,
oh yeah, it's
it's stupid. It's just stupid.
like my copy of Clodelka I got for 99. That's like 300 now. Like it's absurd, this hobby.
It's
But
crazy. Vice Project Doom, that's another one I got in there. That's a great game.
hmm,
But yeah, so I would say that's my biggest like what the fuck? Twilight Princess is 158 for the GameCube?
yeah,
That they sold millions of those.
yep.
I That's why I don't get to an extent why Pokemon is so expensive because like for example like Earthbound, right? Like Earthbound, it's not that it didn't sell well, it still sold millions, but comparatively to other Super Nintendo games, it didn't sell as much. It's not like it's a rare game per se, it's just that it's hard to find, right? Because people who like it keep it type of thing. Pokemon is constant. Like if you look at the top selling games of the handheld era of each handheld system, Pokemon is up there on all of them. So where are all these copies going? Why are they so fucking high? I guess because there's always demand for them.
Oh
Always.
yeah. I think with Twilight Princess, a lot of it has to do with the GameCube version in particular was probably the lower print run of them because GameCube stuff in general wasn't super printed because as controversial as it is, the GameCube is technically a failed console on like a basic sense when you compare it to what it was competing against. But because there's not a lot of GameCube stuff out there, I think I've always kind of assumed that's why like a lot of GameCube versions are kind of going up in price now.
Mhm.
Because you can find Twilight Princess on Wii pretty easily, I believe.
I paid $5 for my copy of Twilight Princess on GameCube
Oh
from a
damn.
friend.
I paid like 50 for mine.
I paid $5, and also $5 for Smash Melee, $5 for something else. I don't remember half the games I bought from it. I think the Legend of Zelda like collection that has like the Master Quest version on Ocarina of Time, like that group of 4 games or whatever it is. So
Mhm.
yeah, but yeah, that's it's just some of the biggest like scores. Like it just like I wasn't expecting this. I don't know what in terms of like I don't necessarily know like what's the most biggest jump in like value. I would assume actually probably scat considering at the same time though, like I spent $50 on Pokemon Crystal and now it's worth 800. But at the same time, I spent $6 on scat and now it's worth 600. So
Yeah, it's crazy. Um, so now to flip that question on its head, what would you say is your biggest fail like you've ever had collecting? Like for me, it was my first time I learned on Amazon. You can never, I'm not Amazon, on eBay. You can never trust an eBay seller. You have to like they need to have pictures like galore and like descriptions, and you need to check everything you see. Because for me, my biggest fail was I had bought a copy of Power Stone One on a Dreamcast. I paid $70 for it. It was one of those eBay listings where there was no pictures of the game; it was just a picture of the cover, and they claimed it was very good condition, like all complete original. There, I buy it. It shows up, and it is very obviously a bootleg.
I this is gonna sound egotistical. I've never really had a fail. And I don't mean that
That's fair.
necessarily in terms of like I would say the closest maybe is that I bought the PlayStation Classic for full price,
Same.
$100 when I
Same.
could have gotten it for 20 if I waited just 3
A
months.
week, a week later.
A week
Like it seemed
later.
like.
That's the first one that comes to mind, but I've never really been duped out. I bought Conker's Bad Fur Day for $100 loose, and like a week later, it had dropped in price by like $25. And now I think it's worth even less than that. So I that's the only one that I can really think that I kind of regret. Not that the game itself, like I'm happy I have it in my collection, but like for that price point, I'm not proud of buying it for $100. I kind of regret. I think yeah, it was bad timing. I think it was just at the height of its value or whatever, and it just now it's I don't even know what it's worth now. Come to think of it.
That's a good question. I have a loose copy myself.
Let me see. Let me see. Let me go to 140. It's worth 140 now. So I've made my money, but not now to be clear, I don't collect to make money. I've never sold any of my stuff, but it is
Same.
nice. There is that sense of satisfaction, be like, yeah, I own this for it. It's worth a fuck ton. It
Yeah.
feels nice.
So like I guess for me, like in that kind of vein, like it doesn't count anymore because it's since reverted back to where it was when I bought it. But my first ever like I paid too much money for a game kind of moment was when I bought Fire Emblem Path to Radiance on GameCube.
Hmm.
Because that was right after the Awakening boom, and like everyone was kind of like the Fire Emblem mania kind of happened at that point. So I had bought that one for 200, and I regretted it instantly because I was like, "This is too much money for a game. Like, what am I doing?" And then like a month later, it dropped down to like 90, and I was like, "I made a horrible mistake in my life." But it's since gone back up to around 200, so it's kind of evened out. But like at the same time, there was that brief period where I was like, What am I doing?"
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I wish I had a better story for you. It's at least for me. So I like I don't even have like Conquer's Bad Fur is the closest to your Fire Emblem one, right? But like I've
Yeah,
never really been dicked over on an eBay listing. The only one that's potential is those Pokemon games. But this was also like I bought these before it was a big thing. Like the piracy among Pokemon cards was rampant,
yeah.
right? Like it was there. I'm not saying it wasn't. So it's a possibility for damn sure. But it was at a time when it was not nearly as rampant as it is now.
Yeah, it's it's tough. There's actually a question later in the list that actually goes into that a bit deeper, so I'll save that for later. But the next question is have you ever had like a game that you did not have the money for, at the time you saw it, but like it was like one of those like you can't pass this up kind of moments. Like you'll never see this again.
Not on a specific game that I can think of, but I do remember the year the Switch came out. In 2017, I was at a convention, and it was at the time, you couldn't find a Switch anywhere. Like there was just no place you could find one, not without dealing with scalpers. And I found someone willing to sell it, and I think I paid 325, which was only $25 more than market. And the only reason it was even that high is because I paid with a credit card. If I would have paid in cash, it would have been like 310 or something like that. Like he would have cut down $15. So I was like, so my Switch I paid 325 for on a credit card. And I shouldn't have bought it. I didn't really have the money. I put it on a credit card. I was like, but I wanted a Switch real bad, and there was like nowhere to find one at the time.
Mhm.
Um, I don't know because I bought the Switch and then I went to Target, and now I'm trying to remember, was there a Switch in the display case when I went there? I don't think there was. I don't remember. I That would make it really funny, but I can't say for certain. I remember going over and buying ARMS though for it. And talk about like I'm not saying it's a
Yeah,
phenomenal game, but like talk about a series where they like tried something and no one bid on it.
yeah, because Nintendo fans are no Nintendo fans are so like petty sometimes. They're like, we want new franchise. Here's new franchise. No, not like that.
Yep, there it
Yep.
is, baby.
Uh,
Yeah, I mean, the closest thing that they've had that is Splatoon. Splatoon is
mm,
the newest franchise that has hit really big. Though I've said it before, the Switch appears to be the console that like took franchises that were like either dormant on the brink of going away, or were like, still really popular, but not like your A level popularity. For example, like Kirby. Kirby's always been popular. I'm not trying to take anything away from the Kirby series. One of the most successful series that Nintendo has, but a lot of them have been relegated to the handhelds, right?
yeah.
And because of that, a lot of them get overlooked. Not saying that's fair, but it's just kind of the reality of what it is. Then the Forgotten Land came out, and everyone's like, "Holy fuck, Kirby!" And
Yeah.
Kirby was popular again. Uh, Animal Crossing, New Horizons. There you go with that. You
As tragic as the timing was on New Horizons, that game did kind of come out at the perfect time.
It came out at the perfect time. Also, look at Metroid. Metroid Dread was pretty successful, all things considered, for them compared to other Metroid games. This was one of their more successful ones. Uh, oh my gosh, there was one that I was just thinking about, and now I can't remember. It was on the tip of my tongue. Oh, Pikmin. Pikmin has 3 games in the series, but it never really. Mm, Pikmin 4 was big.
Oh
Pikmin
yeah.
4 was really big. So it like the Switch has really felt like that system where they like their series that have not gotten enough love finally got some well-deserved love. So but I don't know how I got on that, but I to bring it back to I know how I got on it because I that was my find. It was the Switch. That was the
Yep.
only one where I was kind of like, I need to buy this. And it's just because I didn't want to pay a scalper, and this was I mean, it's a vendor at a convention, so they could be a scalper too. But for $25 over market price, which by the way, that was market prices at 300. If I would have applied the sales tax anyway, I think I paid like $8 more after sales tax. Like
Mm,
I think I paid $8 more, and if I included the sales tax in it, I would have not. You know what I mean? Like it. I only spent like $8 more than what it would have been if I bought it at market value plus sales tax.
yeah. No, I get you there. Um, like for me, like the only times I've ever really had a moment like that, like where I've as I say, broken my budget, because usually when I go collecting, I set a budget that I'll try to stay in. Um, the first one was Popful Mail on the Sega
Mhm.
CD.
Was that
Um,
at the Retro World Expo I was at with you?
no, so I found Popful Mail at at a retro store that no longer
Mm.
exists, but it was when Alex had first moved up here, before I also moved up in this area. We were going to go game hunting, and we went to this one retro store, and I ended up blowing my entire saved funds on the first first store we went to, because it was a pristine copy of Popple Mail, and they wanted like 200 for it,
Mhm.
which was pricey at the time, and I really didn't have the money for. But I knew like that was like one of those like I'll never see this again, and it's now like a $500 game. So
Oh, geez. So you got it at a steal.
hmm. the
That's
only other
wild.
the only other time I've done that is I found a copy of Burning Rangers for 300, which is like a $600 game now at Comic-Con, and it was kind of one of those like things where I was like I'll never see it again in person, so I had to grab it. And
Is I'm sure you have this question. Is there a question that's going to be coming up where it's a game that you wish you would have bought and then regret that you didn't later on?
oh, the let me check real quick because I think like okay, so believe it or not, this is a collection I constantly every time I do one of these, I always say I need to add that, and I keep forgetting to do it. So I'm going to do it now because if I if I don't do it now, I will forget.
Well,
Um,
I can answer that for you right now. You don't even have to ask it. I'll take it as implicit asking with this one. Um, for me, it was there's a handful that I can think of. I know there's been a bunch actually. I should say, and I can't remember all of them. But one that comes to mind is Snatcher
mhm.
because I remember it was like 150 for the disc alone, and I was like, "There's no way I'm going to pay 150. That's fucking crazy." I don't even want to know what the price of that is now for Sega CD. Are you kidding me? I'm going to look it up
That's
actually.
one of the most expensive Sega CD games, I think.
Yeah. Um, and I remember like thinking like it was like too expensive at 150 for it loose. It is $480 loose. $1,300 $1,295.59 for a complete inbox version currently. Um,
I love Kojima, but not that much.
I'll just fucking emulate it. I don't
Yeah.
even give a shit. It dipped under 1,000 early, like in late 2024. So you could have gotten right there. But yeah, it is like that's one I regret just because I could have gotten it for like $150, and I was like, "There's no way." And now it's 500 for just a loose copy, right? Like that's crazy. So that's an example of one for there. I would also say there's been some games I've been like Rocket Robot on Wheels is one that I've been trying to find for quite some time. And then I remember I forget what it was. I think I found it at one point. I'm like, oh, I'll get this next time. Never was able to find another copy. And then the times that I have, it's like way too expensive. Symphony of the Night, same thing.
Mhm.
There's lots of games that like that where I was like, nah, I gotta stay within my budget, and then I regret it, and then I don't now. Their prices are fucking astronomical. So
Like
it is what it is.
I guess the name of this category is obviously like the white whale, like that one game, like the one that you let go and you never get the
Mm,
chance again. For me, it will always this one will haunt me forever. I had passed up a chance to get a copy of Magic Knight Rare Earth for the Saturn, the famously the final game to release on the Saturn in North America.
mm.
Um, I had a chance to get that for 300. I passed on it to get, I think it was Lunar 2. It was another game that was also of significant value at the time. I
Mhm.
think realistically speaking that it's the cheaper of the two now, but that's besides the point. I don't regret it. But at the same time, that it was there. And that game has since it's like $700 or something now. Like it's one of the most expensive Saturn games there is. And I'm always kicking myself. The only other one I can think of was like a Chibi Robo. I had seen a copy for $20 and I
Mm.
passed on it thinking I'll find that again. I never found it again, and I'm constantly every time I see it now, I just go, yeah.
There's always gonna be stuff like that. It's a bummer, but it love lost.
Video game collecting is a cruel mistress. That's what I always say. Um. Oh, wait a minute. I did add the question. I did add the question.
Hey, there we go.
So
See,
the
you're
question
smarter than you're not as dumb as you pretend to look.
I named it something obtuse, like I not like white whale, like an easy thing to remember. I named it the game you let get away. Yeah,
The
so
game that got away.
that's that one. This is the question I only bring it up just because it's more of just making fun of myself because it happened to me, but I always like to ask people just in case.
Mm.
So I get to bring up this prop again. Have you
Sega
ever?
Master System.
This is a broken Master System I've just had here in the background all the time, but I use it as a prop for this question.
Okay.
Have you ever been bamboozled with a cartridge?
In what way?
So this cartridge I have here is a copy of Ken Saden.
Oh, I think you told me about this, where you think you're buying Consadin, but when you like turn it on, it's a completely different game.
Yeah. So this copy of Ken Saden is some random baseball game. Like it is the cruelest like trick like a scammer can do because not only is it's not fake. The shell is real and the board is real, but they took a granted Ken Saden's like not that not extremely valuable for the sake of this argument. I just think it's funny.
Hmm.
They take a game of somewhat significant value and then they stick in like one of the most cheapest like common games possible, and then you get home and you put the game in and then it's surprise baseball and you just feel
Hmm.
like bad about yourself, and it's like it's just one of those things where it happened to me once and it's always kind of just been a thing that I just like laugh about now because
It's never happened to me. Sorry to say. I'm sure
yeah
that's what
it
most people
hasn't
say, but
it hasn't happened to anyone else. I just
you
always have
got
to
to
bring it.
keep asking it though, because one day someone's gonna say it happened to them, and you're gonna be like, "Fucking finally!"
Yeah. Well, because the reason I bring that up was because it reminds me of a like you mentioned Pat the NES Punk earlier, the
Mm,
CU podcast. They had that segment of the eBay like scumbag of the week.
mm-hmm,
And the one story from there that I always loved just because it was such a funny story was the fake, well, not even fake, it was a copy of Chrono Trigger that had Madden in it that like from that time when GameStop was doing the whole like retro push and they were like really hyping up their quality control. And then famously, this one copy of Madden in a Chrono Trigger shell got passed around to like 7 people before they finally caught it.
mm-hmm.
Like I always think of that. I'm just like, how did they mix that up?
Game. Wait, what? Sorry, I'm confused now. What? I understand it was Madden mixed with
So
Chrono Trigger. Was it
the shell was Chrono Trigger, and they were
like a
selling it.
Super Nintendo shell?
Yes, they
Okay,
were like it was a legit Chrono Trigger shell. Like it wasn't fake at all. But they had swapped the board and they put a Madden board in it,
okay.
and they were selling it at Chrono Trigger price. And this thing had gone around to like multiple people, and they kept sending it back, like being like, "This is fraudulent." And GameStop just never took it off the market, and it kept just going to different people because I think there was like 3 different episodes where they had mentioned this one game cartridge.
I'm trying to find. So you talking about this just got me thinking of like bizarre eBay things, and I was hoping to find a reading of it. Um, is this it? No. So Pat, in the most recent episode of the CU podcast, they read off a absolutely bonkers eBay auction list for Nintendo bed sheets, and it was like it was the most unhinged product description I've ever heard in my entire life. For the guys like, if you try to return this, you're going to get sued and stuff like it was crazy. You can find the clip on his YouTube channel. It's like 17 minutes long. I was hoping to see like because he provides like screen grabs of what's on his computer and whatnot. Like, and I can see pictures of the bed set, but I can't see the actual like eBay listing anymore. Um, but it is just oh wait, hold on. I found it. Um, where are you at? It's now relisted. Okay, yeah, it's now relisted. Do they have the same thing? Um, no, they changed it all. There was like it was something crazy. You'll have to watch the video. I don't think they got rid of the listing and now it's a new list. There's a new listing and they got rid of it.
Hmm.
It's bonkers though. Like if I can find it, if this has everything, I'm gonna read it. But it's crazy. Anyway, sorry, I'm losing the thread of this, but it just
No
reminded me of it.
worries. No worries at all. Um, so only a few more. This one is a bit of a so these two questions I kind of combined because they were kind of the same thing. Um, do you have in your collection, like, do you have like an oddball or like an oddball set of games or an odd like collecting habit, like that you just kind of do, just not because it's like a particularly valuable thing. It's just something that like you find satisfying and like you've decided to do. Like for me, one of mine is like I'm trying to collect every NASCAR game just
Mhm.
because, or I'm trying to collect every version of Clax because that was my first video game ever.
The closest, I don't really have anything like that for the most part. The closest thing is I try to get every James Bond game I possibly can. Anything Bond related.
Mhm.
Just I'm a huge James Bond fan. But even that, I don't really go too crazy out of the way to do. Though I have gotten like, wait, what is it? I have. Oh gosh, sorry.
No worries.
When I did the history of James Bond panel at Retro World Expo, which you saw, like I have a tabletop James Bond art, like it's a tabletop RPG
Hmm.
James Bond game. It's a James Bond role playing tabletop RPG, right? It's crazy. So I have stuff like that, but like it for the most part, I don't really have any like one weird specific thing that I just collect for the sake of it. It's more, if anything, it's just things with like weird box art or weird cover art just for the sake of like that seems interesting. Um, I don't understand this, or like the title of it makes me laugh. Kind of like my favorite example of this, of like one of the most bonkers games. I'm pretty sure you've heard of it. Michael Jordan Chaos in the Windy City.
Yeah, I love that game.
What a weird game, right? It's a platformer where you play as Michael Jordan and with throwing flaming basketballs at enemies, and you're dunking them, and it allows you to open up different areas. It's a crazy thing. Fun fact about that game, that's one of Amy Hennig's first
Hmm.
game credits. Amy Hennig, for those who don't know, is the creator of the Uncharted franchise.
Uncharted. She also did Legacy of Kain, a whole
Yes,
bunch of
she
stuff.
did, which I actually recently covered on my show, and I did not enjoy, but that's a different story.
Hmm. Yeah, it's honestly like I love like like dumb fun little collections like that. Like
Oh, it's
to
I
me,
love people that do that.
because like my other one, my only other one I do is I collect PS1 racing games, just like because that system has so many racers for like no reason. And I've
Shout out
been
Sledstorm.
Sled Storm, good game. And I found like two like not Sled Storms, which are like similar concepts, but they're not good in the slightest.
Sledstorm is legitimately a really great
Mm.
game, and no one talks about it.
It reminds me a lot of Jet Moto, like in like that era of just like
Mhm.
cool, quirky racing games. Like I found one, like the funniest racing game on the PS1 I've ever seen is literally just called Racing. Like that is just the title. And I'm like,
What about 007 Racer?
I have that. Actually,
007.
you were there when I found it because I we were at Retro World and I was like scrolling through and I found that hilarious like not for resale collector's edition copy that's like somehow cheaper than the greatest hit. It was like a weird like thing. I remember we had we discovered this at Plan B Burger of all things
Plan B. That's right. I still love how it took you and Alex the entire weekend. I think it was
to
mainly
get the
Alex
joke.
maybe
Yeah,
to get.
no, it was me
So
too. I didn't get it at all.
their listeners at Retro World Expo up in Connecticut, across the street from the convention center, there is a burger shop called Plan B Burger, and I just kept making jokes about like, well, thank God no one's going to get pregnant in this place because Plan B, blah blah blah. And the whole weekend, I just imagine like, why does Josh keep bringing up pregnancy every time he talks about this burger place?
See, me, I was in game collector mode, so my brain was just kind of like it was like, "Vroom." And I'm just like, that's a perfectly normal statement.
I could just say anything to you while you're collecting.
Oh, you've now witnessed me at a convention, and I get really crazy. Like I'll be like digging through shit, being like, "Where's the games?"
I can only imagine. I should just start seeing if I can like influence you. Be like, Bill, give me $100.
Well, no, money. I'll hear money, and I'll be like, like, no, no, no.
Okay, Bill, give me 100 Bitcoin.
I don't think
It's not
I've
real money
actually
anyway.
I've never actually done crypto, so I don't
Neither
even
have
know if
I.
that would help. But
I mean, 100 Bitcoin, you'd be a millionaire.
true. So the other I don't do this personally, but this is like a collection that thing that like I've always kind of thought about as it would be kind of cool. someone who collects exclusively in greatest hits. Like you
I
just
like that.
an entire collection of nothing but those
Yeah.
ugly green spines or like the
That's not ugly.
burgundy.
Don't be judgmental.
I mean, I love it personally, but it's like I love greatest hits, like all of those brands because they're always like the most eyesore like in any collection.
Mhm.
Like the garish yellow on the GameCube, the original Xbox like platinum hits where it just takes over the entire cover. Um, just I love stupid stuff like that, and I just honestly like that would be kind of a fun collection, like just collect the greatest hits versions.
That would be actually really funny. I kinda like that. That's a good idea.
I think Scott the Woz had mentioned it in his episode on it, and I've always been like that would be fun, but it's something I would never do just because.
Like, why would you spend the money on it, right? Like,
Yeah,
it's not because like, a lot of times you own the games anyway.
like if you were just getting into collecting, that would be kind of a cool thing to do, but I,
If you
I
already have a collection, it's like you're buying stuff you already own at some and it's something that you own the more valuable copy of anyway,
yeah.
usually.
So another question. So there's two more. The last one is kind of a joke question. This one is the last like really real question. What would be some advice you would give to a new collector, someone just getting into the hobby now?
Uh, know that it's not easy. It's not like I'm not saying like, "Oh, I'm doing something challenging and look at me how brave I am for fucking buying it." It's not easy just because it costs a lot of money now. If you want the easy, if you want to go to stores and go to cons, you're gonna pay for it. It's a lot of money. If you want to put in the work for it and do like yard sailing and stuff like that, you can, but you're gonna be competing with resellers who are really hounding who are like competing. When I went that one time yard selling with Josh, literally like 7 years ago at this point, I still remember we showed up to a yard sale and there was a reseller there already there and like in this random yard sale in the middle of fucking nowhere. So you're either going to be paying a lot of money for not having the hassle or you're going to be having the hassle. So my that's not necessarily a warning to not get into it, but to me, you have to pick and choose what you want to collect. Like be smart about what you collect. If you want to go for the popular systems, the NES, the Super Nintendo, anything Nintendo, Nintendo gets a crazy bump because it's Nintendo, whether it's right or wrong, they do. Um, then obviously, like PlayStation and all the main consoles generally get favorability, with the exception of Xbox. Xbox is
You know,
one
no
of the
one cares
cheaper.
about Xbox.
Xbox is a cheaper console to collect for, but um, I think it depends. Actually, you know what? Here, there's two advice. If money isn't an issue, do whatever the fuck you want. If money is not a problem, then like you don't care about how much you spend, or you don't have it. You have that much disposable. You have that fuck you kind of money where you don't have to worry about what you spend. Then there's no advice needed. The only advice I would give you is when you're at a store or a convention, especially a convention, walk the floor 2 times at least to see what every vendor has, to see what catches your eye. So if you see, it happened to my buddy Bob. If you see a copy of Pokemon Blue and one guy's selling, and you're like, "Oh, great, I want that," and you spend $60 on the loose cart, there's a vendor probably two blocks down that is selling it for like 45 or
Yep.
50. So that's my only bit of advice. If money is no object, then just when you're at conventions, do laps around it because stores are going to keep relatively the same prices because that's much more market based versus vendors are trying to they don't want to have to take, especially on the last day of the convention, they discount stuff like crazy because they just don't want to
Yeah.
take it home. Um, so there's that. If you are a collector on a budget like myself, I always suggest getting into it 10 years ago, but if obviously that's not an option, um I would suggest pick a console that you love and then work around your budget with that. If that's the NES, look for cheap NES games first, and then if there's like favorites of yours, budget for it. Look at what they're selling for, get an idea, and budget for it. Like I remember the year I got Chrono Trigger at a convention. I only paid $100. Now it's like 200 something or 300 for the loose cart. I budgeted $100 because I knew it was going to cost $100. That was my purchase that week. I came in with 200 and I spent half of it on Chrono Trigger. The other 100 was for whatever hell else I wanted. So I came in with a budget of how much I would spend. So budget, and then from there, if you don't really care about what console it is, look up to see which consoles are cheaper to collect for. Generally, consoles like the Sega Game Gear is pretty cheap for the most part. Any Microsoft console is pretty cheap for the most part. Hell, even the Virtual Boy, with the exception of like 2 games, is like cheap to collect for. There's
Yeah,
like
the
2 or
only
3 games that
downside
are like
is
crazy high.
getting an actual Virtual Boy these
Yeah, that's
days.
true. That's very expensive too. Um, so yeah, that's kind of like what I would recommend. If money's no object, just do laps around
Mm.
the vendor booths and see to get the best deal. If money is an object, still do laps around the vendor to
Oh
make
yeah,
sure you get the best deal. But be selective and know what you want, because you can't just if you can't afford to buy willy nilly and whatever you see. And if there's a big ticket item that you really want, like for years, I really wanted Super Metroid complete in box, just because love, even though I didn't necessarily love that game, I loved like everything about it. And then I played it and I actually genuinely loved it, but I really wanted a copy of it because you know how like there's some games that like you just hear about when you're before you actually played and you're just like, wow, this just sounds so cool. I can't wait to actually play this. That was Super Metroid for me. Everything I heard about it, I was so excited to like dive into it and play it. And it did not disappoint. I'll say that. It did not disappoint. It was a great game. Um, but yeah, you just pick things that you really love and save for it. And it sounds boring, but like that's the state of collecting on a budget now. Like
yeah,
stay within your budget and uh know what you want. And as you get into collecting more and you start understanding the ins and outs and also like kind of like the general market value of things, then you're going to be able to know like what Bill had that question before, like you had that question before, Bill, where it's like you see a deal and you're like, this is out of my budget. I could swing this, but I shouldn't. But I'm never going to get a chance like this again. That's when you do those like really big swing purchases where you're like, I'm not going to be able to find this for a better deal anytime soon.
yeah,
Because now you have the experience in it, but you have to actually get into collecting to do that. So that would be my advice.
yeah. Um, no, that's great. Like, I love the advice part of this list because like everyone always has something different. Like, because for
Mhm.
me, like I always say, like if you're not having fun, then you probably shouldn't be collecting. Because like if it becomes a chore, like why are you doing it? Like that's always been a thought I've always had. Because like one of the reasons I love Retro World is because you get so many brand new collectors there, and like there's just something kind of like really wholesome about being like the veteran collector and seeing all like the newbies getting in, and they still have that like innocence to them where they're really just kind of getting into it, and you're just like, yeah, this is why it was fun. Like this is why I love this hobby.
I also think, actually, here's a bit of advice. Don't try to get everything on your list ever. I'm
Mm.
serious. The fun of collecting is the hunt and the chase. It's that having that like one of the reasons I've actually slowed down on collecting is there's not anything I get excited for anymore.
Yeah,
And that's not to say there aren't bad games. Like there's games that I would love to have in my like would I love Little Samson for the NES? You bet your ass I would, but I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars on it. I don't care enough about that. So a lot of the games that I really wanted, I have. So the collecting part, while it's still fun, that like you have to like, especially when you're collecting on a budget, that's where kind of like it can go. Like if I didn't have a budget, I'm sure the collecting bug would still be there a lot stronger, because then I wouldn't have to worry so much about finances and this and that.
yeah,
I could go buy a Famicom disk system and a bunch of disk system games, buy a disk system kiosk somewhere. I would love a fucking Famicom disk system kiosk, or like a
and
Pokemon Snap kiosk. Like
yeah,
all the stuff I want now is like thousands of dollars that I cannot afford or
fine.
have space for.
an N64 DD just to have one.
Right? Like, it's all stuff like that. So, though you can still find weird corners of, like, niche game history.
Oh yeah.
For example, I don't think I have it with me right now. I mean, maybe I do. Um, maybe did I put it in here maybe? Hmm, I don't know. I have somewhere here. I'll have to find where I put it. Um, a DS cart that is from the Nintendo DS download station. For those who don't remember, when the DS was still a thing, you could go to like Walmart or Target or whatever, and they would have like behind the counter a DS with this cartridge in that was effectively broadcasting demos and trailers for you. And you would do the DS download play option on your DS, and you could connect to this store's DS and then play download demos from it, like over like not Wi-Fi. It was like the WFC or whatever it was, like
Yeah.
the Nintendo's the DS's own broadcasting thing. So you could actually do stuff like that. It was really cool. It was a lot of fun. And you could get trailers and demos. In fact, there are some of those download station cartridges that have demos for games that never came out. So the only way you can play that is by finding the download station card. I have it somewhere. I have to find where I put it. But I have the very first one, number one. It was only like $20. And I think if you go online now, they're still like $20 because they're not like sought after, as far as I'm aware. I checked like a month or so ago and I still saw the same seller selling them for 20. And I don't think there's something you would counterfeit for $20, right? Like if it was something really valuable, they'd be selling for like 50, 60 a pop, probably at least,
I think there's just so many of them out there.
which is hard for me to really fathom because there's yeah, there's like thousands of stores, but I guess it's just like there's not there comparatively to like other games, there's not that many, but I don't think a lot of people really cared that much about them.
Yeah.
So,
It's a thing that like only some collectors are really will find like fascinating. Like it's an interesting thing in gaming, I'd say.
mm,
So
so yeah.
so now the final question, this one is mostly a gag question, but sometimes I'll get like a an actual answer that's kind of like it gets the noggin going. My final question is, what is one game that will never be in your collection?
One game that will never be in my collection.
You can interpret this one any way you want.
Little Samson, because I'll never afford it. Unless, God help me if I find something that's like really if I find a very generous person who gifts me it. I'm not saying they pay $1,000 for it and give me it. I'm saying they have a copy and they're like, yeah, fuck it, I don't want it anymore, and give it to me. Like that's the only way I could foresee me having it, but that's not really a realistic outcome to ever really expect. Um, Stuff like that, games like that, where it's like it would just be so prohibitively expensive to own, or logistically, basically logistically impossible to get. That would be one. Um, I can't
So
even like the only one I can think of, and I know which one you're probably thinking of. That one, it's like a PS2 game or whatever that like had like it was made with like underage girls and shit
yep,
like that. It's like a
the guy
sex.
the
It's
guy
an
game.
adult game, the dad game. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would probably not have that because that's literally like that's just fucked up.
Yeah,
Um,
it's bad. Well, it's bad to begin with. Like it's not good. But then also you read into it and you're like, yeah, this is bad.
the only like I wouldn't be necessarily owning like porn games or like sex games. It's just not anything I'm like really like, ooh, let me go out and find some. I'd be curious to get the Atari 2600 port games with the actually, you know what? I don't think I could in good conscience get Custer's Revenge.
Yeah, that one's a little rough
That is
for a lot of reasons.
that is beyond fucked up for so many reasons. Like I can't even own that for the sake of like, look at this historical game. It's an Atari port game. Isn't that funny? For those who don't know about the game Custer's Revenge for the Atari 2600, or Atari, the 2600 actually did have porn games. I mean, you didn't have to pay for a license to develop for the system. You just developed for it, so people did. And there's like weird games. There's one called Beat 'em and Eat 'em. You can guess
Yeah.
what that's about based off the title. There's an like it's gross stuff like that, but like Custer's Revenge is just it's not just gross. It's not gross because it's a sex game. It's gross because it's racist, and on top of that, it is misogynistic is too light of
It's
a word.
it's
Um,
offensive to everybody involved. Like that's
yes,
like
it is, but content warning for those who are curious. I'll say what it is, but content warning, sexual assault and extreme racism. I'm just going to like
yeah,
content warning for
like
those. Just to
it's
be curious, you play as General Custer, and your objective is to dodge spears that fall from the sky, so you can rape a woman against a cactus, rape an indigenous woman against a cactus. That's what it is, and it is really fucked up. Like I don't think I think that's the only game off the top of my head. I'm sure there's others. Like I'm not saying there's not others, but at least off the top of my head, I don't think I could morally own that game.
yeah.
I could not do it. That is
That,
that makes me uncomfortable thinking of like when I first heard about it, it made me laugh, but now as I've matured, it's so gross.
like
Honestly, I feel like vomiting. I feel like gagging right now. I know that sounds
yeah,
very dramatic, but I mean it. Like I feel gross in my stomach right now.
yeah. That game just like it's offensive to everybody it portrays in it. Like it not only to the obviously the people involved, but also like the Custer family itself. Like they were
Well, fuck the
uh,
Custer family. He was a racist piece of shit anyway.
well
Like
in
he
hindsight, yeah, but
genocided he genocided indigenous people. Fuck him.
yeah, yeah. Just not a good game.
No, not at all. So content warning over. I don't have to talk about it anymore. But yeah, can't do it. Just can't do that no matter what. On a lighthearted note, I can't ever own Little Samson or Snatcher.
Yeah. See, I made this question just to mostly make fun of the guy game because I find amusement out of making fun of that game. Um, that's actually one of my convention games. Like whenever I go to a convention, I like to find how many copies of that game I can find throughout the convention, and then I like to see if they disappear because then someone bought it. But
Mhm.
last year Retro World, I only found one copy and it didn't sell. So
Thank God.
it's funny though because I made this question as a gag, and then the first guest I had for collecting stories, um, his name's James. He had a podcast called Games with John and James.
Mm.
He has since disappeared. I have no idea what happened to him.
Oh jeez.
I hope he's doing well. But he actually had answered Final Fantasy VI.
Really?
And I'm not gonna say like his reasoning because he actually gave a full on like this really deep, like in depth story. And I remember I was like, this was a gag question, sir. I did not need this really deep answer. But I just like ever since that, I've always been like, well, now I have to keep this question like for each person because you never know
Final
what they'll.
Fantasy VI. It must have been something very personal.
He had a real reason behind it. I forget at the time. I'd have to re-listen to the episode, but I just remember like he had dropped that on me, and I was like, well, damn. Like I don't know how to think. This was supposed to be a joke, sir.
That's wild. That's wild.
But yeah, that was all I had for questions. It's cool talking to collectors. I'm glad to finally get you on, man, because I've been meaning to like I want to share like with different people. I mean, I've known you probably longer than anybody in the circle, so I've been just really wanting to get you on for this, and I'm glad we finally had a chance to chat.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me on. I love guesting on other shows mainly because I don't have to do any of the editing work
Yeah,
already, the logistics stuff behind the scene. Like right now, I'm editing the last episode of Punch Nazi Month, and I it's a good episode, but I have to. It was like an hour and 15 minutes long, as about as long as we've been recording actually. So those take a while for me to edit. So I like being able to guest jump on a show and then not have to do any of the
yeah.
logistical work afterwards.
No, I hear you there. But yeah, I guess at this point, I know you've already mentioned it earlier, but do you want to just shout out Still on podcast again, real quick?
Sure. The Still Loading podcast is I describe it as a video game grab bag podcast. It's basically just me talking about video games, whether it's deep dives on individual games. I cover a variety of topics, hence the grab bag nature of it. I do interviews with people in the industry. I've had composers and voice actors and game developers and game designers and tons of I had the president of Jollyco USA from the 80s back then, excuse me, on the show, and he was actually worked at Atari Coin Op. His name was Howie Rubin. That's a favorite episode of mine. That was a really fascinating interview. So I interview people from all aspects of the games industry, but then I also do individual deep dives on games. Like I mentioned before, Bill has been on a handful. He's going to be on the Infamous episode coming up later on, the PS3 game Infamous, from Sucker Punch. He was also on the Mario and Luigi Partners in Time episode from Mario Month just a couple weeks ago. He was on the Nintendo DS episode back in November for the DS's 20th anniversary. So I do deep dives on a bunch of stuff, and then I do weird ideas. I have a annual thing called the Final Fantasy Draft, which is when fantasy sports and Final Fantasy mix together, and you don't need to know anything about fantasy sports to enjoy it. You just gotta love Final Fantasy, and that's that. So yeah, that's the Still Loading podcast. You can find it wherever podcasts are given away for free. And you can follow me on social media at Still Loading Pod over on Blue Sky and at Still Loading Pod on Instagram. And I stream on Twitch at Still Loading Pod. And that's it. I mean, I'm at Still Loading Pod on a couple other places, but I don't really post there. So to take it, you get what you get with those. But for the most part, I'm on Blue Sky on Instagram.
Nice. And I'll be sure to have a link. I'll probably link your website directly down below.
Oh yeah, I have a website as well.
But yeah, once again, guys, thank you for joining us on the Gaming and Collecting podcast. You can find Gaming Collecting podcast on all the major podcasting platforms, particularly Apple Podcast and Spotify. And be sure to check us out over on the Superpod Network. That is superpodnetwork.com. It's an awesome site where you can find a whole bunch of different shows, videos, blogs. We just wrapped up a series of video game blogs talking about our favorite PS1 games. I had done a blog on the obscure PS1 game Tiny Tank, which you can check out there. And with that, everybody, we'll see you all later.